Now, this brings us to a distinction, right? If we're talking about the existence of things in the world as they exist, we know that that is a cosmology. But there's also a word, and the word is cosmogony. C-O-S-M-O-G-O-N-Y. Cosmogony. And this is a theory about the origin of the world. Cosmogony is a theory about the origin of the world, so that Anaximanders, Thales, and Anaximenes are attempting to give a cosmogony, right? A theory about how everything began. Everything began for Thales with water. A cosmogony, Anaximander's cosmogony, is the boundless, and Anaximenes' cosmogony is air, right? So that everything sort of began this way. Anaximenes says in his critique of Anaximander, well, I don't understand what the boundless means. I don't think you understand what the boundless means. It makes logical sense, but we can't contemplate the boundless. And more importantly, if we are talking about the boundless, if we're talking about something that exists, and it's not something that's some physical matter, then how do you make the transition from this thing that, it's not water, it's not air, it's the boundless? How do you get from something how do you get from a state where there is no existence to a state where there is existence? Well, this specific critique is what's known as ex nihilo. E-X-N-I-H, let me see how I spell it right. E-X-N-I-H-I-L-O. Ex nihilo. And ex nihilo means out of nothing. Right? Ex nihilo, right? The problem for Anaximander is the problem of ex nihilo, right? Getting something out of nothing, right? The easiest way to sort of give an example of this is it used to be thought, prior to Pascal and investigations during Enlightenment into bacterial contamination and spores and so on, that if you had rotten food outside, that the rotten food, of its own accord, not because of anything else, worms would spontaneously generate. It was called spontaneous generation, right? That worms would spontaneously generate from this rotting food. And what Pascal and others did was to show that this is incorrect. So what he did is he put some cheesecloth, put some rotting food underneath the cheesecloth. He put some rotting food in a dish exposed with no cheesecloth blocking it. Obviously, flies were able to land and plant eggs on the exposed food and not the other. Worms appeared in one and not the other, which showed that spontaneous generation is impossible, right? You cannot get something from nothing. Things don't just come into existence out of thin air. This is sort of evolutionary progression. At least that's what philosophers are arguing. And this is obviously pre-Darwin. But the problem Anaximenes launches against Anaximander is that the idea of the boundless faces the problem of ex nihilo. That's great that you said everything's the boundless, but how do you get from nothing to something, right? How did that happen? How do you get the existence of things from nothing? So he uses that as a critique against Anaximander. All right, so I'm going to erase the first one. All right, so the next Presocratic that we can discuss, and I think I covered all of that. So before we go on, I just want to make sure that Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes, Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes are known as Milesians, right? They're Milesians. M-I-L-E-S-I-A-N-S, right? So Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes are known as Milesians because they're from Miletus, right? They're from this place, M-I-L-E-T-U-S. So we have these three Presocratics. One that says everything is composed of water. Thales saying everything is composed of water. Anaximander saying everything is composed of the boundless. And Anaximenes saying that everything is composed of air. All of them are Milesians. All of them are from Miletus. All of them are also monists, right? All of them also using the argument for reduction as their starting point for their ontology. Okay, that. Alright, so the three, Thales, Anaximander, and Examenes, are known as monistic naturalists. They're known as monistic naturalists. Obviously, we know why they're called monistic. They're monistic because they reduce all of their ontology to one one starting point, hence they're monistic. And they're naturalists because they attempt their cosmogony, their theory about the origin of the world, their cosmogony and their cosmology, their theory of the nature of the world, involves natural accounts. All Thales, who said that everything was comprised of water, Anaximander, who said everything's comprised of the boundless, and Examenes, who said everything's comprised of air. All three of them are Milesians, and all three of them are monistic naturalists. And the definition for monistic naturalist is the belief that there is only one kind of stuff. Let's see. What will later be known as substance. There's one kind of stuff or substance. And that natural phenomena are explained by natural phenomena, right? We can explain natural phenomena using natural phenomena, right? There is no supernatural explanation in this. It's that the existence of things are reducible to actual things in existence, right? That way we don't need to have some sort of transcendent description or some otherworldly description. These are all sort of naturalistic accounts of ontology and cosmogony. Okay, so we know that those three are monistic naturalists. The next that we're going to describe, the next two that we're going to describe are also monists. So the fourth Presocratic philosopher we're going to describe is Pythagoras. 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 And Pythagoras also was a monist. Pythagoras was also a monist. And Pythagoras thinks, and he looks at what everyone said from Thales all the way to Anaximenes, and he looks at their cosmogony, and he thinks to himself, well, you know, this doesn't make sense, right? I can't see how it could be the case that you could explain the existence of everything based on simply natural occurrences. And he comes up with what ends up being a revolutionary idea, probably one of the most revolutionary ideas of all time, probably also the most underrated idea, but a very novel idea. And he believes that all things are numbers. So reduced everything to numbers. He reduced everything to numbers. So Pythagoras reduces everything in existence to this idea of numbers. He thinks that you can use numbers to explain everything. It isn't quite like modern day physics, though there are some attempts to describe the universe in sort of physicist terms, physical terms, as far as the quantifiability of natural existence. His was, in all truthfulness, more of like a numerology, right? The number 7 has a particular meaning. The number 0, and actually the number 0 wasn't there. So the number 7 has a particular meaning. The number 1 has a particular meaning. The number 6 has a particular meaning, and so on, right? So what Pythagoras tried to do is reduce everything, but he didn't reduce everything like the monistic naturalist did to numbers. He reduced everything. He didn't reduce everything like the monistic naturalist did to natural phenomena. He reduced everything to numbers.